Welcome to Running is Bullshit. I'm Amy.
And I'm Stuart, and you're listening to the podcast that loves to hate running. This is episode 148, and this week we're talking about wearing clothes wrong, where not to put your hands, running in the dark, and one of the worst stories we've ever been sent. I feel a few people are not going to like this.
Oh, God. Let's have a catch-up on the last episode. At Yellow Mag said, people who frequently talk about running through totally unpronounceable hills. Not being able to pronounce... Okay, so they've tried to spell it out phonetically. Cheviot? Cheviot?
Cheviot? I think I would have said Cheviot.
Cheviot.
Sure.
Cheviot. I think Cheviot sounds nicer.
Cheviot. That sounds nicer.
Cheviot.
I don't know where they are. I don't entirely care.
But that's bullshit, apparently.
Sorry for not being able to pronounce every single thing. Cheviot is appropriate because Claire Allison also mentioned the aforementioned Airbnb yacht. Not as swanky as it sounds. We weren't even allowed to drive it anywhere out of the marina. She's calling it driving, so that's probably a good thing she wasn't allowed to drive it around.
We weren't even allowed to drive this boat that costs a lot of money. Like, what?
She said it did, however, have about 6 first aid kits, which came in handy. Well, that's good to know.
That's why you're not allowed to drive it.
I weren't allowed to drive the boat. And there's a link there that she sent us as well if anyone's interested in an Airbnb yacht.
I don't know. I don't like the idea of sleeping on a boat. It always freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I'm very good at boats. Last time I went on a boat was when I went dolphin spotting off the coast of West Wales, and I spent the entire time throwing up all of my lunch. Like, everyone else was on one side of the boat going, oh, look at the dolphins. And I thought, I'm going to take myself off to the other side. I'm going to leave those people alone. They don't need to see me throwing up. Like, I was literally the only person absolutely throwing my guts up. But I like to think I drew the dolphins in with my regurgitated pizza.
Nice. I have had a quick look at this Airbnb, and why were you surprised that you weren't allowed to sail this boat around without do you need a license to sail a boat? I don't know, but I feel like even if you don't need a license, who's going to trust some randoms to sail this boat that looks like it's a lot of money?
Yeah, I feel like you should at least know what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's have a quick tea update. Ooh. We're partnered with Bird and Blend Tea, and that means we'll tell you what tea we're drinking. If you like the sound of it, you can go to runningisbs.com/tea, click on the links, and then buy some tea if you want. Amy, what are you drinking?
Today I have peppermint cream from Bird and Blend. I've spoken about this before, but yeah, it's one of my favourites at the moment, actually, and it's actually pepperminty. You know, sometimes you have a mint tea and just all the different mints just taste the same. This tastes like peppermint. It's got a proper strong peppermint taste. Nice. Slightly creamy though as well. You can taste the creamy aspect to it. So yeah, one of my absolute favourites. Really like that one. How about you?
I've just finished off because, of course, my usual thing. I sit down with my tea and then Amy's 20 minutes late to recording, so I finished it by now. But I've had some mulled cider, sticky chai tea because it's always Christmas in my heart, as everyone well knows. If you go to the Bird and Blend website via our website, add some chocolate digestive tea to your basket, a 20-gram pouch. Buy something else, put in the code Tea is not BS. If you're a new customer, Tea is not BS. You get that chocolate digestive tea free, and it's very, very good.
Nice.
Nikki Jones was in touch after last week and pointed out, Amy, what you should have called it was Lanzarote. Tea from Lanzarote. Yes. Well done.
Oh, let's not publicise that though. If I ever want to sort of flee the country, and set up my own tea shop in Lanzarote, yeah. I'm taking that one.
Fair enough. Yeah, good for you. Amy, what have you been up to?
Not too much. Went back to the gym. I went to the gym on Tuesday.
Sorry to hear that.
And I only did half an hour because I can only fit in half an hour. But now it's Sunday, and yes, my legs are still hurting. Because that's just what you do, isn't it? You don't go to the gym for months and months and months, and you go to the gym, and then your legs hurt for about 2 weeks afterwards, and you don't.
Until you don't go back because it hurts.
Yeah, and then just the cycle repeats itself. So, but it's important, isn't it? It's actually important in terms of not injuring yourself. Yeah, it is. So I do need to go more regularly. So I'm going to try and go once a week. And also back doing some running, which is nice.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Time off. Yeah, doing a bit of running. I'm not really, I'm trying not to get too stuck into I need to be running these distances. I'm just being chill about it. you know?
Yeah.
So, and we went on a nice run this morning.
Oh, yeah, we did. That was good.
Yes, we went to the Glamorgan Ridgeway, which is one of my favourite places to run because it's just about 20 minutes away in the car, and it's just really nice, but also like a bit challenging too. There's some good old hills to climb there, so yeah, it's like a nice mixture of close by, nice scenery, but a bit challenging as well. We did the good loop. We did the good loop round, didn't we?
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those places I see you go all the time, and I'm like, okay, Amy's gone there again. And then I did it this morning. I'm like, oh yeah. To be fair, this is really nice.
Yeah.
Amy's very moody photos on Instagram they're good photos, but very filtered, but they don't quite do it the justice of like, it's actually, because today was like a lovely sunny day, and it doesn't seem like that on your Instagram.
No.
It's very moody.
Exactly. It's despair. It has to fit in with the aesthetics of the grid. Yeah, and the bit though, that I've talked about this loop before, that bit where you have to like climb up that horrible, I don't know what you'd even call it, path that's just all that horrible slippery rock and rubbish. I hate that every single time. You were just like walking up there because like, oh, this is just a dog walk for me, but it's not for me, okay? I live in Cardiff. Cardiff's very flat. It was not just a dog walk for me. It was a fucking mountain, and it was horrific. But yeah, other than that, lots of fun.
We'll get you out of Cardiff eventually and up some proper hills, don't worry.
Yes. Yeah. How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I was planning on doing the Raven Walk, which is the route that we did last year that took us 5.5 hours. I was planning on that one, but I had to postpone it because I didn't quite have time. I don't expect it to take 5.5 hours again, but I will get around to doing that one again because it's a really, really good route. I realised the other day, I think, again, one of these things, after like 13 years of running, I think I did my first proper actual double run day. I mean, loads of times I have run more than once in a day. You know, I've run to somewhere, done a thing, run home, or I've done multiple runs throughout a day, but they've all been like connected. They've all been a part of the same thing broadly. This is the first time I've gone out in the morning, did a session of like 14k, out at one pace, back at a quicker pace, but it was downhill on the way back, so it was kind of cheating. But then worked all day and went out in the evening and did my usual Thursday trail run. And I don't think I've ever done that before, and it feels like I really should have done by now.
Double run days are like, well, I feel like they're going out of vogue a bit now because I feel like they were a big deal a little while ago, like a double run day.
Kenyan thing, isn't it? Run in the morning, sleep all day, run in the evening.
I don't see it as often now. Maybe it's just the sort of people. I think because I follow a load of trail runners, and trail runners don't really do that sort of thing.
But it was two runs like 12 hours apart. But if I'd run in the evening, gone to bed, and run in the morning, that's nothing remarkable. But it's basically the same thing. But I suppose you've got work and everything, all that stress in the way, in the middle. But yeah, after all these years, I don't think I'd ever done that before, which feels kind of weird. Feels less like a normal thing that everyone does that I'm finally catching up on.
Train like a Kenyan.
It is exactly what I'm doing. It makes me basically the same. So now for my half marathon next week, I've done 2 training sessions, so I think I should be pretty much fine.
Oh, that's fine.
That's enough, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's probably too much. You might get injured, so I'd be careful.
That's right. I had a nice rest with you this morning, so that was fine.
Yeah, nice just time on feet with me.
Purely that, and that's as much as you can say for it. I did also have cross country yesterday, 4th fixture of the year. Last year it was an absolute mud apocalypse. This year, not as bad. There were some muddy patches. There were some people covered in a bit of mud. There was a guy really badly did his ankle. He was up towards the front. One of my friends saw him go down. Looked quite nasty. I just heard him as I went past. He was laying on the side by this bog. I guess his foot must have just got stuck in this mud and he went over on it. But he was just like shouting with pain by the time I went past him. So I'm like, God. It's one of those things you just go past. You're like, oh, perhaps I will just slow down a little bit because I've got a few more important races coming up.
Oh, I thought you meant out of respect and not like spray him in the face with a load of mud as you like trample.
No, because I think partially because it's cross country, the nature of it, you're like, oh, poor guy. Then in your head you go, oh, there's one more point though. So
yeah.
Oh no, he didn't finish, so it doesn't count as an extra point. Ah, damn. If anything, it's a point. Oh no, that's a shame. Never mind. The worst thing about it though was as I got to the finish, I was in a little kind of group. I overtook a few towards the end because that's what cross country is all about. Do what the fuck you want on the rest of it. As long as you overtake someone at the end, you get that extra point. Doesn't matter about the 45 points you've just lost by people overtaking. As long as people see you overtaking people, great. A lad absolutely sprinted past me so fast. And I talked to him at the end and said that wasn't fair. But he said he's a 400-metre runner, so that's all he has. I'm like, well, what are you doing 9k of cross country? Just jogged around the rest of it and overtook 6 people at the end. Not fair. Not happy about that at all. So here's something we want to talk about. Well, it's Amy, this is something you've been sending me and something you've been getting quite upset about, is you're being gaslit by Instagram.
Okay, well,
I mean, we all are, frankly. But
it's cross-platform. The gaslighting is
way.
Yeah, the gaslighting is cross-platform, actually. So I saw on Instagram a post from Runner's World about wearing socks on your hands to go for a run. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, who's wearing socks on their hands to go for a run? Like, yeah, of course, technically you can, but who's actually doing that? Who's, like, surely most people own, like, a cheap pair of running gloves at least just from Sports Direct that you picked up for £1 or whatever. Like, who is wearing
just an
socks?
old pair of wool gloves. Everyone has got a pair of normal gloves.
Yeah. So I saw it on there, and then I was scrolling through TikTok, and there was a guy running on TikTok, and he was saying, oh, you don't need basically he was saying you don't need loads of fancy things, and you don't need like this designer running stuff. I just got these tops from like Sports Direct or something. And I was like, yeah. And then he lifted up his hand and he's like, and I'm just wearing a pair of socks on my hands. I'm like, bro, no, who is doing that? Who is wearing socks on their hands to go for a run? And why not just have some gloves? Why not just invest in some gloves? And when I say invest, you can pick up gloves very, very cheap. It's maybe even cheaper than some socks. I don't know.
I've just looked at Decathlon, which is usually the cheapest place, £6.
Yeah. Oh, you can get them cheaper than that, like on sale
probably.
as well, or probably on Amazon if you want to support. Amazon. Yeah, I just don't understand because surely. I know they're like mittens, but mittens wind me up a bit as well because you want to have the dexterity in your fingers to be able to, I don't know, do what I just don't understand. I just don't understand people wearing. And also the other thing is, like, running gloves are usually made out of material that's sort of sweat wicking, and if it rains, it's not going to get all horrible. Like, who's wearing fucking cotton socks on their hands to run? That's like the worst. Surely that's horrible if they get a bit wet or sweaty. You got these sweaty hands in some sweaty socks. Like, it's just gross.
Some nasty wet socks. I know the basic thing of, you don't need expensive stuff. Here's just a thing you can do instead. Fine, no problem with that. But something as cheap and normal as gloves just seems very strange just to be like, wear socks as a hack. But we both, as we met this morning, we were both like, we didn't wear socks. That's something
I know, I
done.
nearly did. And I will say like you've gone on holiday somewhere really cold and you've forgotten your gloves and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll just stick some socks on. Yeah, in a pinch. But like you just said, I don't buy it can be cheap, just do this thing, because gloves you can pick up so cheap. You know, maybe I'm just showing my privilege there, my glove privilege. I don't know, but I don't buy that argument.
So middle class Amy's just got money for gloves.
I know.
She's got glove money she's throwing around all over the place. But just if you saw someone running past with socks on their hands, and again, I know we shouldn't really care what other people think of us when you're out running, but other people will look at you and be like,
was she wearing socks on her hands?
And they would mention that to someone else. They'd be like,
yeah.
Saw this girl run this morning wearing socks on her hands. And everyone, it's too much. It's too confusing.
Yeah, it's too unusual. That is the sort of thing that I'd come back and I'd tell Freya one of my boring stories that happened on my run. Like, and I passed somebody with socks on their hands and she'd be like, all right, great. But it is something that I'd remember.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is very strange. But you say about mittens, I know you say you're not a fan. Some people fucking love their mittens. To be fair, you can get the ones that you like are gloves and mittens. You can like fold off.
I
the
like
mittens.
those.
That is
like
quite
Fagin,
nice.
where you got like fingerless gloves at the end. I quite like those ones.
That's pretty good. But I think if you're doing like a really cold long event, just a big pair of mittens would be quite nice probably.
Yeah, I get that. But then, even then, you've got the thumbs. What I don't like the idea with socks is you've got nowhere to go. You are trapped in that sock. With mittens, you've got the thumbs. Like
You've
we've
got a thumb
evolved.
at least,
Yeah, to have thumbs for a reason, you know? Like, that's what sets us apart from the mere animals
So you're
that we
saying
eat.
wearing socks on your hands makes you an animal?
Yeah.
Or frankly, no better than an animal.
You're a fucking animal if you wear socks on your hands. No thumbs. What do you think those thumbs are important, you know? Oh, it makes me feel claustrophobic even thinking about it.
Is it better or worse if you made them into sock puppets?
That's better, yeah, because there's at least a purpose that you've got some sort of company while you're running.
You've got someone to chat to at least.
Yeah, exactly.
We asked our listeners about this, and I was worried that it'd be one of those ones that people wouldn't respond to because it's a slightly weird question of, do you have any like weird hacks like this? People really went with the sock and the glove thing though. Jim Buttleman says, has anyone experimented with wearing gloves or mittens on their feet? Could be a game changer.
Ooh. Especially if you've got really long toes.
Yeah, that could be smart. You could save yourself a lot of money on socks by just wearing mittens on your feet. Perfect.
Jen Evans said, I've been wearing socks on my hands since 1978.
Ooh.
That's very specific. Or do you mean when you were a baby? Because you are supposed to put socks, like little socks on babies' hands, aren't you? Stop them scratching themselves and things like that.
But since 1978, she knows. There was a moment, and she was like, I will remember this forever.
Yes. She says, does that make me ahead of the curve? What else have people been putting on their hands when they can't find their gloves? I've always done it. No, I've never thought to do that. But then I'm very rigid thinking. I'm like, socks are for feet, gloves are for hands, and that is it.
Sherry Grubb says, I wear sock sleeves. Well, I once got some so-so compression socks cheap, and they sucked for socks. So I cut off the toes, and I cut a hole for my thumb, and a hole for my watch on the left pair, and used them as running sleeves. They go all the way up into my armpit, and cover my hand to the fingertips. I wear convertible gloves over them. I've got on real run sleeves before, but they stop mid-bicep and at the wrist. So I get cold upper arms and cold hands, and they slip down. I have to say, these socks work better, and with the mittens on top, my hands are warmer. And since I often get too hot as the morning warms up, I like being able to take them off and stick them in my pocket. I have also modified badly fitting swag socks from races into arm sleeves, but only wear those so I can rep the swag at the race. Winter races here can often be below freezing and in the snow, then sunny by the time we finish, so removable layers are really important. So compression socks, cut off at one end and worn all the way up into your pits to cover. I think that is clever, because arm sleeves, they come to your wrist and they stop, just over your elbow. If you want to keep your, you could just wear long sleeve, just wear a long sleeve top.
Yeah, wear it like over the top of your t-shirt,
and then you can just roll up the sleeves when it gets warm.
But or just whip the top layer off. Although I do get it, because maybe, I don't know, maybe if you just take the sleeves off, the compression things off, then you can just stick them in your pocket. It's less cumbersome, I guess. But the most important takeaway from this is cutting a hole for the thumb.
And the watch.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit weird, but the thumb. Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess you would need the watch.
I know you are a big fan of thumbs, as we have learned.
Yes. Yeah, I just think it's important, and I think I was wondering why I'm so enraged by socks on hands, but I think that is it, not being able to use your thumb.
Yeah, fair enough.
As God intended. Andy Robbins says, I have a friend who saves on gloves by sticking his hands down his pants when they get cold. No shaking that hand after a run for me.
Yep,
Your friend needs to be on a list.
Yeah, if we are saying down his pants, then please don't do that.
No, you know what you can do? Like if you're wearing a long sleeve top, just tuck your hands up into the top.
Yeah, or in the shorts, maybe down the side of the shorts.
Yeah,
but don't go inside the pants.
No.
That's not necessary.
No, but saves on gloves. We don't need to be saving on gloves. If you need a pair of gloves, if you're that desperate, send me a message. I will send you £2 for a pair of gloves.
We'll help out, yeah. Perhaps we should start a fund for people wearing socks on their hands.
Go Glove Me fund.
We'll start sending out some gloves to those in need. Dan Moody says, as a slower runner, I tend to wear walking shorts or trousers with suitable running pants, as they tend to be cheaper than dedicated running shorts. And I have many more pockets and zips and don't restrict my slow pace. Smart. He also followed up with, I have a reflective parasol for hot weather. It keeps the sun off at any angle and keeps airflow to a maximum, but only for ultras. In what form? Is this like an umbrella, like a Regency lady holding an umbrella over her shoulder?
I was going to say, it's very Oscar Wilde. It's very dandy, isn't it? I love that.
Is it one of those little weird hats with just like a little parasol coming off the top of it? I feel I need to know more about the parasol.
Please send us like a race picture if you can, where you've got the parasol in action. That sounds amazing.
That is.
I love that. I genuinely love that. If you're walking around with a parasol, like I said, I'm imagining like dandy Oscar Wilde, like a little velvet smoking jacket and stuff. I think that's lovely. I love that.
See, I'm thinking of like a big hooped gown. Is more what I'm thinking of. Tiny little waist, and then just the parasol over the shoulder, and maybe a very small dog.
Yes, yeah. Love that.
But for ultras, why not? Keeps the sun off. If you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/runningisbullshit and donating money every month. New to the list this month is Kat Williams. Thank you very much. Here's Amy giving us everyone else that donated money this month.
Kath Everett, Steve Robson, Nikki Genders, Ian Hales, Erica Barris, J. Gabby, Thomas, Naya, Kel Ryder, Ruth Perkins, Dewi, Julia Page, Matt Bates, Gail Seal, Karen Hamilton, Debbie Hurley, Neil Denton, Brian Simpson, Adam Baker, Andy Robbins, Nikki Jones, Matt Caffin, David Owen, Anthony Howe, Aaron Shawley Wood, Dawn Shepherd, Jonathan Carter, Angela Foster Swales, Rachel Bentley, Matt Newbury, Gregory C, Larry Warren, Groove Edwards, Lem Martin, Victoria Magnus, Jenny Tenesby, Mark Willis, Elliot Line, Vicky Robbins, Tony House, Francis Howe, Noms Dawson, Matt Jones, Alice Newstead, Lisa Gibbons, Claire Davis, Matt Lees, Sandra Hines, Daniel Braun, Jay Howe, Jason Spinks, Liz Reed, Kiara Evan, Spencer Aldred, Claire Dina, Sophie Jacks, Ruth, Katie Catholic Adult, David Tito, Catherine Brown, Penny Simpson, H.P. Makasowski, Rich Skone, Kat Abigail Hardman, Victoria Dick, Isaac Hewitt, Kat Williams, B. Martin Kaplan, Rachel Bullmore, Steve Peake, Matt Burrows, Victoria Cousins, Andy Nichols, HP, Ian Thompson, Matt Garner, Maria Wicks, Raymond Quinn, Clark Gilmore, Charlie Neverson, Paul Hibbert, Tom Alcock, Tony Boyle, Chris Whitmore, Cheryl Curran, Karen Ray, Fergus, Bernadette McCarthy, Graham Hackland, Jerry Grubbs, Sharif Innocent, Elizabeth Shaban, Stuart Stevens, Terry Milligan, Amanda Murray,
One of your better efforts, Amy. Well done.
And it took me so many times because I thought I was having tech issues with my mic and it was tech issues with my headphones instead. So I just kept recording it over and over again. I was like, why isn't it working? But it wasn't. That wasn't the issue. So that wasn't even my best take. There was a better take than that, but I thought the file was corrupted, so it's gone. It's deleted, never to be seen again. But yeah, I do
Lost
feel
to
like
history.
I do feel like that was one of my top three.
It's one of those ones I listened to. I thought, I would have liked to have done that one, but I would have spent loads of time doing like the vocal effects and stuff, and that would have just, and I would have just spent too much time, and it would not have been worth it to anyone else other than me.
Don't forget to get in touch with your running bullshit on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Running is BS and let us know why you particularly hate running this week. And somebody who didn't really get in touch about that, but more an opportunity for us. So we had an email to Pat and Mike at the That's Running podcast offering a partnership, which sadly we had to turn down as That's Running hasn't had an episode out in over 2 years. And also, that's not us.
No, we're not Pat and Mike.
We're not Pat and Mike, unfortunately. So never mind. It was a shame, though, because it was a partnership for supplements for hybrid athletes who push limits, which is us.
I mean, that is perfect, isn't it?
I went to the gym on Tuesday for half an hour.
Yeah. I had to carry a gazebo from my car into my house earlier. That's a strength session.
Yeah.
So that would have been perfect. So Pat and Mike, they're really missing out.
Yeah, that would have been absolutely perfect. You know what? That we should have put at the top of the episode. One of the things that annoys me is hybrid athletes, because what does that mean? And I know what that means in runfluencer influencer terms. It just means
is it people who are shit at running and shit at weights?
Yeah, they go to the gym a lot and then they go for a run and they call themselves a hybrid athlete. Like, bro, you're not a hybrid athlete, okay? Like, chill out. You know, athlete is a fucking stretch, but like, you don't need to call yourself a hybrid athlete either. Settle down.
Just calm it.
Anyway.
Dan Wyatt, here is a story for you guys. He said, here's one for you. Being farted on is bullshit. All my friends are sick of my story from the weekend, so now you get to hear it. Enjoy. On Sunday, I did the Doynton Hard Half Marathon, and it was potentially my favourite race ever. The first 3 miles was basically all uphill. The mud was muddy as fuck. I lost a shoe before the end of the first mile, and whilst retying it, about 5 people said, make sure you tie it tight. Yeah, great. Mile 2, whilst climbing a huge hill behind someone, I was directly beneath his arse, and he farted directly in my mouth. I heard, smelled, and tasted it all at the same time. What an assault on the senses. Around mile 9, while crossing through a stream, I mistimed my jump into the stream and went arse over tit into the water, mostly unhurt, apart from a little cut on my elbow. It was the longest mile of my life to the next aid station, where they're offering shots of tequila. I did a shot of tequila, because I'm no pussy, and that pretty much carried me through the final 3.1 miles. What an adventure.
That's horrific.
But I do feel like you haven't you've only given like 2 sentences to being farted in the mouth on.
Like, did they apologise? They must have known they did it. Like, why? Because they surely didn't do it on purpose. Surely.
No, well, you know, a race is a race. You know, you've got to use any advantage you can. But I don't think you would have. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose you would have known that person's close behind you. But like, do you say anything or? But the fact is,
you'd let them go in front. You'd surely let them go in front, and then you'd take yourself off.
You move off to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes it just happens. But I heard, smelled, and tasted it at the same time. Oh,
that's rotten. Absolutely rotten. What is wrong with people? That's terrible.
So bad. I mean, sometimes you do have to fart during a race, and when there's people behind you, I do feel a bit bad, especially when it's one of those ones that comes out over like 6 or 7 strides. That's a bit rough. But like sometimes people do it in front of you, and I think all you think is like, "Oh, that person's farting." But you know, so what can you do?
Yeah,
it's
but
fine.
if it's that close to your face that you can taste it,
yeah, when someone's right behind you like that, just angle away. Come on.
That's minging. Did you feel it? That was the only sense you didn't. Did you feel the gust?
Well, hopefully, didn't see it. That would have been very strange.
Oh, absolutely minging. But yeah, I feel like there's a bit more to that story. Did they apologise? What happened? It's a bit orcs, isn't it? Oh well. Gosh, we're flying through. I'll have to make this like bit really long, like the bullshit running news. The bullshit running news. This is the bullshit. What time are we on? The bullshit running news. We're on the bullshit running news.
Are we done? So first up, as you probably would have seen, it's kind of been all over Instagram, British ultra runner Sophie Power has set a new women's world record for the most distance run on a treadmill in 48 hours. God, what a miserable weekend. She took on the challenge during the National Running Show in Birmingham, where she ran 365 kilometres, which is 226 miles, in 48 hours. What a way to spend a weekend. As if the National Running Show as if it couldn't get worse. She decided to do that. I suppose she would have avoided all the talks and like trying to be sold supplements and things. So she probably got away from a lot of that stuff, at least.
I love how we both had the same thought then. Like...
both going for the same easy joke.
Yeah. No, I mean, I went to the very first one because I don't know whether they still do this, but when they were first starting up, they used to give out free tickets. You just sign up to the website.
Mate, I don't know if anyone is paying. If anyone is paying for the running show, they're an absolute mug. Do you remember a couple of years ago, someone contacted us and we gave away some free tickets. They're so easy. Like, we've done nothing but slag it off and people gave us free tickets, so it's easy.
I mean, when I went, it was like a very low-key thing. It wasn't that exciting. It does seem like there were some like big names that were up there talking, but I don't know. It's just not my sort of thing. Like, it just seemed like very, very busy and just overcrowded and stressful. And yeah, not my thing, but I guess if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah,
if you're people that like running, basically, then it's probably fine for you, but it's really not ours. And there's
No.
people there, and
The people. But yeah, that's I can't imagine. Well, actually, to be fair, I imagine running for 48 hours on a treadmill. If you're going to do it anywhere, that's probably an interesting place to do it. You got people coming up and chatting to you, and that's probably more interesting than doing it in a gym, I guess. If that's your
I imagine
your
after a few hours, you probably don't want to chat to people, do you? You're
I
probably
don't know.
not in the mood.
If you're that sort of person that feeds off that, I mean, I guess that's why she's doing it there rather than in a gym. But yeah, I don't think I've ever properly run on a treadmill, so I can't even begin to imagine what that.
I've done it like half an hour a couple of years ago, and that felt like 48 hours.
Yeah.
So
It would freak me out as well, because if I started to sort of fall asleep or whatever, then the machine will just carry on, without me.
Yeah.
So hold on. So was she overnight in the NEC?
Yeah.
She just left there. They just
Yeah.
sort of shut everything down. And she was just left.
Just, one little light on her. Someone by the side of her, check she doesn't smash her face in when she falls
I
over.
hadn't even thought of that. That of course she's going to have to stay. That must have been like some spec. Cause I'm assuming they shut it all at night, and there's just security wandering. But yeah, that must have been like that's interesting. The logistics of it. Speaking about running through the night, that was a really good segue for me. Yes, I do want to talk a bit about this story, this project, because it's super, super interesting. So this is about the Into the Dark project, which is the brainchild of Girls on Hill's co-founder, Kerry Wallace. And basically it's this project that seeks to understand what lies behind night running anxiety in trail runners, with an emphasis on the particular barriers faced by women during the longer nights of the winter months as well. So super, super interesting, particularly after I was talking last week on the podcast about in Lanzarote. And when I did that bit of the, when it got dark, it was really dark. And there was just something really, really scary, like visceral though. I wasn't scared of like, if I was running in the dark in the woods in Cardiff or something, I might be scared like someone's lurking, like some weirdo's lurking and is going to attack me. Like that would be like my it's quite a logical sort of thing, very unlikely still, but when I was in Lanzarote and it was so dark, I wasn't scared of somebody coming out and grabbing me, and it was just like this really visceral fear, like almost like an animalistic sort of like, this is bad, like this is really dark. And I had my head torch, I was safe, but yeah, there was just this proper visceral fear in me, which is partly what this project is looking at. So because Kerry is an experienced trail runner, but also she studied natural sciences and specialised in evolution biology. And neural mechanisms of behaviour. So she has a PhD in neurobiology.
Nice.
So she used this scientific background to investigate the evolutionary origins of fear of the dark. And she carried out this survey of over 1,000 trail runners, as well as considering the impact of her own personal / negative experiences. So she was looking at this project, this Into the Dark project, is exploring the relationship between fear of the dark and perceived personal safety. So Kerry ran the West Highland Way, which is Scotland's oldest and most popular national trail, and she did it solo and unsupported in the middle of winter. And not only did she set a first and therefore fastest known time,
best way to do it.
Yep, woman after my own heart. I'm saying that like I can compare myself to her.
She's going for the soft records. We like her.
Yep. But she ran through 17 hours of darkness while being afraid of the dark.
Ooh, I bet that's really proper dark there as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like a super interesting project. Are you afraid of the dark, Stuart? If you're running in the dark, are you afraid?
No, because I'm a man and I just don't really think about it.
No, but that's the thing. Yeah. So like, if I was running in the dark, like I said, in some woods nearby, like a few miles from my house or whatever, if like I could guarantee that I was the only person there, I wouldn't be scared. And I don't know why, I can't imagine being scared, but there was something about how dark it was when I was out in Lanzarote that was scary. And I think because if I was to run in the woods like a few miles from my house, like there'd be like light pollution and stuff, or light from the moon. I don't know. It was the pitch blackness that really like. I've never been scared of the dark for that. The dark alone. I've always been scared of other things in the dark. But it was just very, very. I've never experienced anything like that. So yeah, I think it's really interesting, and it also makes sense. I guess I don't know anything about evolutionary biology, but I assume we've evolved to have a fear of the dark because that's when a
Yeah,
predator.
it's quite a primal
get
thing,
us.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting. But obviously all that stuff as well around women and fear of the dark, because obviously women have to be, are more likely to be victims of certain types of crime and stuff, and they're more likely to happen in the darker months. I don't know. I'm assuming. I don't have the statistics to back that up, but I'm assuming there's that increased fear of crime and so on happening in the darker months. I guess because fewer people are out, aren't they? You go out at like 7:00 on a summer's day, and there's people out walking their dogs or whatever. You go out at 7:00 on a winter's night when it's cold and rainy, and there's not many people around, so it's quite isolated. So it all sounds super, super interesting, and it's a project I want to sort of follow along a bit and see what happens,
Yeah, it's definitely something we'll keep an eye on. It looks like she's doing a couple of talks at the Fort William Mountain Festival and another one in Glencoe. And there's some kind of guided runs and things. That's all up in Scotland, as you might expect. And I imagine she's going to be on some podcasts and things. And by the looks of it, there's going to be a video called Prey that comes out. And I don't think it's out yet, unless I haven't read this properly. I don't think it's available yet. We will definitely share that when we see it, because that does look very, very interesting. Yeah, and it's just that interesting story of woman scared of the dark runs in the dark. I mean, that's on its own is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah.
That's a really, really kind of good thing. I have had a bit of an idea about this in a way, and it's not to do kind of being scared of the dark, but just to go out, because I want to do more mountains this year. I keep banging on about that. But what I'd like to do is go and do a run starting at like 2 or 3 a.m. in like the Brecon Beacons, and then run into sunrise. Be up a hill somewhere when the sun comes up. I think that would be a really, really good thing. On like a nice, clear, warm night in summer, running in complete darkness in somewhere like that, somewhere really remote, I think would be really, really good. That's something I want to try and get in at some point.
Yeah, that does sounds pretty nice. Yeah, but yeah, really, really interesting stuff, and I'll be interested in sort of the link she makes between evolutionary biology and fear of the dark, but then like I said, also women as well, and women's experiences of fear of the dark, basically.
Yeah, well, it's actually one of the reasons why my club started doing weekly trail sessions, because there was a couple of women in the club who would go out and they would meet at 6 a.m. over winter, like every week, to go for a run in the woods with their head torches on, because they were just like, well, we want to go, so if we go together, we're fine, basically. And as we always say, the axe murderers come out in the evening, not the early morning. So they just wanted more people to do that, and obviously getting people up at 6 a.m. to start running is quite a task. So we started doing it in the evening, and it was to encourage more people to go out on trails in the evening, because most normal people, I think, don't really think of that as an option. You don't go into a lot of people don't do trail running anyway, but to do it at night in the woods for a lot of people is a big step. And so actually getting them more used to that, because then I've seen after this quite a few people go off and do it themselves on their own or in pairs or in threes, and people are doing it a lot more, just to show it's not something to be scared of. It's something that's kind of really quite liberating in a way, just to be out on your own at midnight with no one else around in the woods. It's quite a cool experience, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And finally, a story that Amy's put in for reasons I can't really work out, about a monk on the run.
Right, okay, that's enough. That's all people need to hear.
Monk
to know
on the
why
run.
I put this
That's the
story
reason.
in. Yeah, monk on the run.
So Father John Cribbin is hoping that at least 10 others join him. Oh, big ambitions. For a 10k run from Murfield to the Sainsbury's at Shorehead in Huddersfield on May the 9th. So he's planning a big day.
Yeah,
he's
May
running
the
to
9th is a
Sainsbury's.
while off. Yeah.
And he's planning it 3 months in advance. That's good. Hopefully more than 10 people join him. For a little bit of colour for this article, he runs most days around 3 miles at a time and only took up running 20 years ago. So this is a man who runs a normal amount, and has done for a long time, is going to go for a short run to Sainsbury's in 3 months. And
But he's a monk.
But he's a monk, and that's why you put it in. Does he dress as a monk when he runs?
No, I don't think so. I don't even know if he's a proper monk or whether he's just a religious person and they've called him a monk. I don't know. Do people just call like people monks just for, what does it take to be a monk?
I don't know how it works.
He's obviously not done a vow of silence, has he?
No.
But yeah, I think they're finishing at the Sainsbury's because there's a cafe there and then they can have a cup of tea. But he did say if people join him, they are welcome to carry on afterwards if they want to go a bit further.
Okay. Oh, and they're raising money for a charity in Zimbabwe as well.
Yes, exactly, because his church or something works with it. The monk, the guy, John Cribbin, founded a charity with his church, I believe. He's a good person. He's a
He
monk.
says, I'm not good at running. I was a wimp at school, but I did once come first in my age group at Park Run. So,
Yeah,
huge thank you so much for highlighting that story to us, Amy.
it's
That's
important.
really enlightening.
Well, if anyone on May the 9th is in Murfield
In Huddersfield, they need some milk. They can run to
Yeah.
Sainsbury's
with a monk.
with a monk.
Oh, I think it's brilliant.
Wow. You can tell this is a short episode and we were scraping
And
around
it
for
would
content.
be shorter if we'd neglected Father John Gribben.
Yeah, it's the stories that other people won't bring you.
Yeah. Anyway, Stuart, what you got coming up next? Are you doing a 10k with a nun?
I wish. It's lots of races again after cross country this week. I've got Barcelona half marathon next weekend. Really looking forward to that. Loads of people from my club going, hoping for a PB. How hard can it be? Should be fine. Then I'll never have to bother try with a half marathon ever again. Following that, I've got a full weekend of Canicross, so 2 races across 2 days, to try and get myself 3rd place on the national leaderboard in my age category. Very much depends on who turns up. Hopefully the weather's terrible and people don't turn up. That would be ideal for me. So I'm the only one in my age category. That'd be great. Lots of points. And then I've got cross country again. So I've got like 5 races in 4 weekends, which is always a good idea. I came up with a new way at cross country of judging how well I'm doing, because it's always quite hard, because time doesn't mean anything on those kind of courses. It's all about position. But I figured out the other day when I was running, so I was hearing all the people getting supported around me, and I realised I must be further back than I should be, because people were shouting out, "Go on, Phil! Well done, Rodney! Come on, Colin!" I'm like, I should not be with the Collins and the Rodneys. That means I'm doing badly. I should be with like the Matthews and the Dans. That's
Yeah.
more my generation. Maybe
Yeah,
the Jameses.
yeah.
That's the kind of crowd I should be with. I should not be running with the Phils, the Rodneys, and the Collins. So that's my new generational name way of judging how well I'm doing.
Yeah, you've got to really worry when they're like, "Come on, Jim Bob Jones Jr. the first."
Yeah, well done, Geraldine.
Yeah.
Or when it's
Well
those
done,
kind of, that's when it's a worry. So yeah, that's my aim for the next one, to be more with like people called Lee and Matthew. That's
Or
more.
even better, you want to be with the people called like Noah and what are some more recent names? Like-
come on. I'm not running with
Like the-
Noahs and Olivers. Come on. there's
Yeah, then you know you're really, really fast.
No, yeah, that's not going to happen in these kind of events. So that's something to think about. Next time you're at a big event, we're well supported. I don't think it works quite as well in like big races where everyone's got the name on the bib, because a half marathon, there's thousands of people, everyone's kind of doing their own thing. They might have started in the pen in front or the pen behind, but something like cross country, everyone starts together, works quite well. So there's something for you guys to think about. Listen to the names around you and figure out how well you're doing from that.
It is weird that, isn't it? Because I often like there's no babies called Amy anymore, really. But I had
No.
loads of Amy's in my class. Like I think it's quite 90s Amy. You
Yeah,
know?
probably, yeah. But if you were running along and people are going like, "Come on, Jackie, go on, Sandra," you'd be like, "Ooh,
Whoa,
I'm a little far back." I think
yeah.
it's like a new form of age grading. I figured out.
Yeah.
Can we do age grading tracked against the year your name was most popular?
Yeah.
Someone needs to come up with an algorithm for this and plug that in. What kind of your age grade based on your name alone?
Yeah.
Good work. What you got coming up next?
Wow, I've not really got much coming up next. I'm just like plodding along my running. I want to enter some races at some point, I guess. Do some short
Yeah,
trail races
yeah,
like I
as
talked
well.
about, but I've got nothing on the horizon whatsoever. I need to start thinking, because I think I mentioned on the last podcast, I'm quite keen to go out to Fuerteventura next January to do that bit of the GR131. So that would be like a multi-day thing. So yeah, I need to sort of think about how I'm going to put that into my training, preparing for something that's multi-day. But yeah, I need to get some events on the horizon, really. I
Yeah,
haven't
you
really
do.
got anything booked.
Some things to talk about. Come on,
Yeah, no,
make
sorry.
an effort.
Sorry, or else I'll have to like fall over or something, or have a cow encounter.
We need something. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing.
Cool. Well, if you've enjoyed Amy doing nothing, please visit runningisbs.com. You can see the show notes there and links from this episode and the whole back catalogue, including the link, of course, to Father John Gribben running 10k in 3 months' time. You can also listen to the whole back catalogue of episodes, links to our Patreon, our merch store, and our social media. Bye.
Bye. You're a fucking animal if you wear socks on your hands.